In the words of the great David Diamond, I'll take a point. Aston Villa 1, Ipswich 1. Welcome to Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. Jay, what were you thinking 40 minutes into Aston Villa 1, Ipswich 1? At 41?
I thought, well, okay, that's it. We've played really frustrated because I thought we played really, really well until that point, and it was sort of an even side. We'd seen off their threat at the start of the game, and I thought we were probably looking slightly more comfortable, if anything, than them. And at that point, I just thought, right, here we go. This is a defeat. You're not going to get out of here with anything from this game. Now we're down to 10 men for such a sustained period, and then it's just hopefully we can see it through to half time and do something. But yeah, I expected us to lose at that point.
I'm struggling with the context on this one, Dave. We'll get into it. It's almost like these Premier League away games. They have so many different sections. They're like a whole journey that you have to get past this checkpoint and then this checkpoint. How you feeling first of all before we go into the minutiae?
Oh, it was a brilliant point. I guess all of us on our obviously perhaps not Joe, but the rest of us on our ITFC predictions for the next block of games would have certainly had that one down as a defeat. No doubt about that, I'd have thought. And how it played out, absolutely brilliant. Backs to the wall. Great point. Absolutely brilliant point.
And Joe, I'm looking at the bottom 6 in the table here, and okay, it's a baby step, and there's big gaps up to some of those teams, but you've essentially taken a point out of all your rivals, and most importantly, a point out of the team directly above. I know we're going to get comments, and I echo them, that it's 3-pointers that are going to make the difference now, but can't be bad.
No, and these, yeah, you do need to win some games, but I don't think anyone looked at Villa away thinking that was a game we were going to win, because to go get a win at Villa Park would have been a fantastic result. And they're not a flaky team like sort of Tottenham or Man United seem to be at the moment. They're a pretty solid team. I know they've struggled with the Champions League and the Premier League schedule, but no, that was a game that they'd have had a big sort of 3 points. I don't know what the bookies odds were at the start of the game, but I'd imagine we were heavy outsiders for that one. And we
11,
managed to,
I think.
Yeah, exactly. And to come away from a point from that is a brilliant result, especially with how the game played out.
Welcome to Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. We are reflecting on a thoroughly interesting game at one of my favourite away grounds, I have to say, Aston Villa. It was Aston Villa 1, Ipswich 1, with another grenade. And help me out cope with this. I was so annoyed with the Coventry thing where the game state gets completely changed by 2 early goals. And obviously this week I've got to deal with a red card in the first half to us, which completely changes everything. But you can only play the cards you are dealt, whatever that says for your long-term viability. Welcome everybody here watching on YouTube. Get involved in the comments. Have your say. Keep that chat moving. We'll be putting your questions to Joe and to David Diamond in segment 4 of the show. If you're listening on audio after the fact, well done. You are old school. This is episode 899 of Blue Monday. So if you've done them all on audio, we really, really appreciate you. And if you do want, come and join us live each and every Sunday here on YouTube. And yes, we do have something special planned for episode 900 for our wonderful Telegram crew. Let's get into this team news first. David, I'll come to you, matey. In goal, Alex Palmer, who will be discussed at numerous times in the next 90 minutes. Interesting, Connor Townsend starts at left back. Axel Tuanzebe will also be discussed. Dara O'Shea and Jacob Greaves is the back four. Calvin Effin Phillips and Jens Kayust are the midfielders. Ben Johnson. Down the right-hand side. And Ciso Hutchison and Liam Delap. Thank bloody Christ for Liam Delap. There's quite a lot to talk about in that 11, Dave. So palm some of it off on Joe, but give me your thoughts.
Well, it was. I mean, I think the two surprises as such, which didn't break until the team were announced, that no Sam Morsey and obviously no Leif Davis. Apparently, Morsey had been, from what we understand, injured for most of the week, so he was never going to play. But apparently a late injury to Leif Davis, whether that was at training on the Friday, I don't know. I wasn't not up with that, but certainly a late injury to Leif Davis. So obviously, yeah, Andros Townsend. I wish it was. That'd be
Andy
awesome.
Townsend.
That'd be awesome. Andy Townsend comes in at left back. Other than that, yeah, I think the team. I suppose what were we saying? Jack Clark was really, really good last week, but no really surprise that obviously Hutchinson was back starting, and obviously Enciso again. Unfortunately, more of him in a minute, playing in that central 10 role.
Joe, you got any thoughts on the 11 there?
It's the first time we've had none of the League One team starting for us in the Premier League, because obviously Leif Davis has been ever present this season. I think Sam Moores has missed 2 or 3 games, but it's the first time where we haven't had any of them in there. And is the guard parting at the moment?
Yes. Joe, here's your Aston Villa team with World Cup winning goalkeeper Emi Marta. He's brilliant at Portman Road, wasn't he? Garcia, Digne, Camara, Disasi, McGinn, Tielemans, Ramsey, Rogers, Marlon, Watkins. Very good, Joe.
Yeah, it was. And it's just the sort of experience through the middle of the team, isn't it? Like John McGinn, a hugely experienced player, and a very, very good player, Ollie Watkins. I think there was a few supposed doubts over Ollie Watkins and Tyrone Mings. Tyrone Mings didn't start, but he did come on sort of 15, 16 minutes into the game. But yeah, no, they are just a good side, aren't they, when you look at it?
Were you worried when you saw that Villa team, Dave?
Yes, obviously Watkins back, which was, yeah, he was perhaps a slight doubt, as Joe said. Mings back in the squad, but yeah, solid team, and obviously more. If you look at the bench, quite a formidable bench. More of that, obviously, to come in a little while.
Yes, indeed. Joe, do you want to start us off? Because we've got to talk about 2 injuries and a booking. The first things we're going to talk about. Camara goes out for Villa, and our old friend Tyrone Mings does come in, as you say. But more pertinently, Julio Enciso lasts 17 minutes, Joe.
Yeah, but there was also in the very first, after 90 seconds of the game, a long ball goes through, and Morgan Rogers goes after, and Alex Palmer is in no man's land, comes flying out of his goal, but does just about manage to pull himself out of the challenge. And Rogers goes down. I think he does catch him slightly with his arm, and VAR does check this for a red card, but I think it would have been it was reminding me of Craig Forrest against Sheffield United back in the day when he got a red card within the first 2 minutes and Clive Baker came in. And
do you remember Kevin Pressman at Molineux for Sheffield Wednesday? It was like 10 seconds he got sent off or something, wasn't it?
This was about 90 seconds in, and that would have been an absolute disaster with the sort of goalkeeping situation that we've had, and bringing someone in, and then Juric had been on the pitch in the sort of second minute of the game. So, no, glad to get away with that one. And then from that point on, he put in a faultless performance. But yeah, obviously Camara went off for them. But Enciso, he looked very visibly upset at this point. And he started the game brightly, sort of beat him again in the midfield, taking a shot from 25 yards, which was sort of easy for Martinez to pick up. But he's, as we know, he's not afraid to shoot. But yeah, he looked in a lot of pain. But the only hope is it's sort of an injury to an area that he was previously injured, missed a long time for. But like the Coventry game last week, Sammy Smodics looked to be in sort of real frustration. And I think it's just human reaction when you've had an injury in the same place. You fear it's as bad as the one before that. So hopefully it's just that with Enciso, that he fears it's what it was previously, but it's not. It's just a knock there. And he can be back hopefully next week, but we'll see. But no, it'll be a real big blow if he's out for any length of time, because he's looking really sharp already, isn't he?
Yeah. What's your take on that, Dave?
No, yeah, it just a real shame, really. As Joe said, he sort of went down he went down on 14 minutes. Didn't you think, hang on, that's a bit early for someone, even for us, for a tactical sit down 14 minutes. And then it was clear, because it sort of panned away from him, because I think Kamara was subbed pretty much at the same time. Mings came on at the same time. So, a rare occurrence of Jack Clark coming on, and we'll get to that at half-time. A sub being sacrificed, unfortunately, for Jack Clark, who I must say, when he came on for that first half, I thought put in a real shift and looked really good. Obviously, he got a lot of confidence last week. But no, and Ciso had looked really good. Yeah, I say ball carrier, gets you up the pitch. He's got that bit of bit of nastiness in him, as you know what I mean, that bit of devilment in him, nastiness in as well, which perhaps we lack sometimes. So if he is out for hopefully just a short period, he'll be a miss. But yeah, that was a shame, that one.
Yeah, here comes a shame because we're going to get a first yellow card for Axel Tuanzebe. And I'm going to use this is something that Joe Fairs has taught me, where when you get a decision that looks a bit strange, you try and go, right, what's the referee thinking here? What's his kind of thought process, Dave? I think he thinks mistakenly that Tuanzebe's chopped down, is it Rodgers, to stop a counter attack. And I just think he's got it wrong, hasn't he?
No, he's got it horribly wrong, and it's in the centre circle. Was that? To be fair, I thought Rodgers was brilliant most of that first half. He was really, really good. I guess he gets caught a bit. Rodgers chops the ball sort of back inside him cleverly. But even on Match of the Day last night, I think Shearer panned in on him, which I didn't realise at the time. He actually gets a bit of the ball. And it's his momentum that then.
Well, Dave, really, the only issue is the yellow card, is it? It's just not. It's not really a yellow card.
And that was the first yellow card of the match. 13 minutes in, and as McKenna said again in his post match, the amount of challenges Amari Hutchinson's had on him all season, exactly the same.
We just look at that Southampton game that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, where Harwood Bellis drags him down when they goes past him. Bednarak drags someone down when they go past him.
I saw one this afternoon, exactly the same position.
Liverpool.
McAllister against Wolves actually chopped someone down. Absolutely nothing. So
different refs, different games, guys. It's so hard to compare, isn't it?
I think the frustrating thing about that was the ref was right there as well, right there on the spot. And as again, McKenna quite rightly said, he couldn't wait to get his yellow out. They even joked on the TV.
Say brandish, Dave.
Well, yeah, brandish is a great word. Couldn't wait to brandish. And they even said on TV, so that's the card, card left over from Valentine's Day or something like that. That was the joke sort of thing. And you don't think anything of it at the time, but obviously was going to be much more significant half hour later.
Yeah, do you agree with me, Dave? And we're getting lots of conspiracy theories and top 6 teams, and you're talking about other referees. I think he just thinks he's tried to stop a counter attack. It's just a mistake by the ref, isn't it, Joe?
No, it's a total mistake, and even there's no consolation, but Hackett's come out again today and called it, hasn't he? Keith Hackett's come out again and said, what was he doing? That's certainly not a yellow. However, perhaps Tuanzebe, the experienced player he is, again, in a few minutes' time, a bit naive, perhaps.
We'll get to that. What's your take on the first yellow, Joe?
I don't think it's a foul, and I think the ref should be able to see that it's not a foul because he's right. He's right on top of the ball. He's looking straight at it, and you see.
He can be too close sometimes, Joe.
Maybe, and he's. You need to. No,
Dave. No, seriously. Sometimes, if you're right on top of it, you can't see the wood.
You don't see the bigger. I know.
Carry on, Joe.
You need to. I don't like when refs make decisions very, very quickly because I know they're in constant communications with their fourth official, second linesman, and the yellow card's out before he's even had a chance to have I think you might have got that wrong. Don't book him, or something like that in his ear from somebody who might have had a better view of it. You just need to stay a bit cool sometimes, and it does. I know it's not about conspiracy, but the big clubs get more decisions, and it's a few times we've had it this year where I think twice this season we've had people substituted against us at half time because they're going to get sent off because they maybe should already have been sent off because they've committed fouls on bookings. And again, and it's not Ipswich. You watch Liverpool Wolves today, Canate, how he doesn't get a second yellow card and he gets dragged off at half time because the manager knows he should have got a second yellow card. So he takes him off. And the big clubs at home get away with a hell of a lot more. Like John McGinn, foul. Tuanzebe, 1 foul, yellow card. McGinn's foul again. Putting it to Raid in the ref's face. Doesn't get it, but you have to play the ref. And as we'll go on, Tuanzebe is booked, whether he should have been or not. It doesn't mean the red card is harsh because he's playing at this stage with a yellow card. You can't just say, oh well, I shouldn't have had the first booking, so the red card is soft. It's not soft because he does have that booking, and you have to adjust to the situation you're in.
Where I do have some agreement with the I'm not accusing the commenters of being conspiracy theorists, and I'm not putting my tinfoil hat on here. I do somewhat agree with Joe there, Dave, that I think sometimes referees they take this big picture of, right, I've got a hot favourite home team against an outsider away team, and they're trying to stop the idea that the away team is going to commit fouls to try and get leverage in the game. Do you know what I mean? And that does play into the narrative of you have the big team. Let me finish that. You have the big team and the kind of smaller team. And I think maybe that explains why he goes in so quickly, as if to say, right, you Ipswich players, you're not stopping Champions League Villa by tactical fouls. Dave, yeah?
Yeah, you might have a point there. Yeah, they're expecting some away team skullduggery sort of thing. But yeah, you might well have a point. But yeah, as Joe quite rightly said, it wasn't a foul, let alone a yellow card.
And these are the decisions that make a big difference, because they're the little things that go against you that make a big difference. Because even if Tuanzebe doesn't pick up the second yellow card, it does still mean that when he's playing, he's having to play
on the edge.
On the edge. So you then, if someone flies past you can't just drag him down when you might need to, because you've got that booking on you already, which probably wasn't deserved.
Well, do you want to move on to this second yellow card then, Dave? Because I know a lot of people argue, if you got the first one wrong, you should then, give him a bit of credence on the second one. But we do teach very young children that 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I'd always rather the referee just, if you've made one mistake, I'd rather not have more mistakes. And yeah, it's just a nailed-on yellow card. The second one, which is very frustrating because the first one wasn't. Yeah,
I mean, that is the frustration. Yeah, it was. It's clever play. I think they get Ramsey in, don't they? He drops his shoulder and cuts inside, and yeah, he is in a good position, central position, just bearing down on the D on the edge of the box. And yeah, I mean, it's an obvious one. He drags him back, drags him down. Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Obviously, it's a heat of the moment thing. Yeah. It is. As soon as it happened, and you say, "Hang on, yeah, Tuanzebe's
got
been
centre backs to help there as well as
well." Yeah, it was really open, was it? I don't think it was really much cover there. It was on a really central position. I think it worked his way in quite well. It was quite a good bit of play, and not to say he didn't have any option. Of course, he had some option. You could just let him go, but yeah, chances are already got off his shot. But yeah, it's clumsy, perhaps more than anything. But it's a yellow card all day long.
What's your thoughts? It's very unfair, Joe, of me to ask you what's he thinking there? Is he thinking the first one was a bit soft, so I'll get away with this?
I just think he doesn't realise maybe that he's a yard ahead of him sometimes, because you can put your hand up on the shoulder when they're next to you and you can sometimes get away with that. But it looked like he was reaching forward to drag him down rather than reaching across to slow him down, and he's just misjudged it in that regard. But I've seen, like, as soon as it happened, I thought, I think he's going to be gone here straight away. As soon as I saw it was him, and yet again, the ref had his cards out of the pocket before the ball had stopped rolling. He was straight over there. But I've seen refs let a lot worse than that go this year.
Oh, mate, I did
numerous times.
And Burnley yesterday, and just because it's a local derby, about 5 of them got let go before the first yellow card comes out. But that always should be a yellow card. That's not,
like I say, I think he thinks he's half a yard behind him rather than a yard behind him, so he thinks he can get away with it and can't. But I say the ref could easily have not. The ref could just as easily have not sent him off for it. And he'd have been lucky not to. But we see all these players get lucky every week. It seems to be against us. So like Jan Bednarak and Taylor Harwood-Bellis both could have had first, second, third, fourth yellows against us 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure the ref, if that was in that same game, would have let that one go yesterday. It's just a foul. But no, I don't think he can have any complaints. I don't think you can make that decision when you're on a yellow card to make that challenge. And if you do make that challenge, you are walking the tightest of tightropes, and he fell off it.
And maybe because it was in such a central position as well, perhaps if it's more of an angle, maybe it was one he might have got away with. But yeah,
difficult one. And I mean, it's very easy to be wise after the event. But as Joe's saying, if the referee has to play the game, sometimes you have to play the referee. And if you do see cards coming out very quickly, very enthusiastically, maybe you have to tackle accordingly as well. Whether that's right or wrong, it's these marginal gains. Like Joe said loads of times, Dave, we've got to be online with absolutely everything to win games, haven't we?
It was a shame, because as Joe quite rightly said, we kind of weathered their early storm, I think. The Watkins chance, was that before the sending off, Joe?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so he had a really good chance.
Ball over the top.
Yeah, ball from Disasi sort of split the defence. It was a bit disappointing because it was a straight ball, but a good ball to be fair. And Watkins just stretch and put it wide. So we got away with that. And we were winning second balls. We were getting some good possession. Yeah, and that obviously, totally changed the game. Not saying Villa weren't kind of in the ascendancy as such, but it wasn't like they were playing us off the park, for instance, like bloody Liverpool did, away game a couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago. It wasn't anything like that at all.
Joe, some changes here at half time from both managers, and presumably a interesting team talk from Kieran, McKenna for our lads. Rashford and Martson, left back and a forward, coming for Villa. And as Dave's already mentioned, Joe, Jack Clark, who came in on 17, comes out for Luke Wolfenden. So can you explain the shape and the thinking for taking a winger out for a centre-half?
Well, I think we all knew there was going to be a defensive enforcement coming on at the break. We'd weathered a storm in the sort of 5 minutes between the red card and half time. We'd weathered a sort of hell of a storm for Villa there, including Palmer making the first of his excellent saves from Morgan Rogers, where he's just thrown a left hand up to an open goal and managed to get enough on it to put that over the bar. And it really was a choice between Ben Godfrey or Luke Wolfenden, what we were going to do there. And I guess it was either a case of Ben Johnson going off or Jack Clark going off. And I think Kieran McKenna made the right decision. It sort of proved to be the right decision to bring Wolfenden on, and who played really well again. Ben Johnson came right back into right back, and I thought he'd had a good game as well. He sort of managed that position well, because Villa had a lot of options down that left hand side, and they didn't really get anything going down there in the first half. And that's where all their changes were focused on, sort of reinforcing that left hand side to give it another go. But yeah, I think Jack Clark's almost punished for doing so well the week before against Coventry, because he's sort of elevated himself to first sub when Enciso went off. So it was him that got the nod over Broadhead. But because of that, he was then on the pitch to be dragged at half time. And I think when that happens, if you do get the result that you want, Jack Clark can sort of feel good about what he did. Because I thought, like Dave said, I thought he played well and made some really nice, sort of clever inside balls.
Yep.
Got on the ball well, did well. So I hope he's just disappointed in the situation rather than upset with it, because there's nothing to be upset about in that regard, because he came on, did his job, and just the situation dictated something else needed to happen. And I think, as it proved, Amari and Delap are the two attackers you needed there, because they do dovetail nicely together and they sort of work more centrally there, where I don't think Jack Clark, you could have had him playing across the width of the pitch like Amari Hutchinson did. So yeah, right decision in that regard. But it almost became like a 5-2-2 at times.
Well, I'd add to that, I thought Hutchinson was excellent yesterday. He really put in a shift and really dug in. You saw him make a hell of a block challenge, didn't he, in the second half, which you think, bloody hell, it was Hutchinson. Obviously, we'll get on to what he did really well in a minute, but he was absolutely superb, I thought, yesterday. In perhaps a little bit of an alien role where he's asked to really dig in, and he certainly did it brilliantly, I thought.
Well, this is where Unai Emery went wrong, Dave, because he's a very intelligent man, but he can't add up, and he hasn't realised that Liam Delap is actually worth 1.5 players. So we went down to 10 men at all. And Dave, just before you describe this goal, so 1,863 minutes of Premier League football for Liam Delap. That is 10 goals and 2 assists for a team that has won 3 games. This is just outstanding this season, Liam Delap. And the type of goals. And what a finish this is, Dave.
I think this might be his best yet. I honestly think it might be his best goal yet. And perhaps I'm doing a bit of a disservice. The Villa one, where he stepped over, and the Fulham one was a bit special. But the
Brentford one was brilliant as well. Similar to this one, yeah.
I said to Jordan, my lad, I said, this is, I thought, very similar to the Brentford goal where he gets above. But as Streaky just said there, the ball from Johnson was superb. Swept it across. Just brilliant from Hutchinson, instant control, squares Maatsen up, the fullback, drives to the line, great ball in, drives it across. This is just unbelievable.
You love this. Is a 70s goal, Dave. You bloody love this, don't you?
This is a great goals. He just gets in front. I think one of them's McGinn. I think it's McGinn and Disasi. And Mings is there somewhere, but he's totally out of the picture. But it's just brilliant how he gets there, and then the quality, the first time finish is, because you look at it again and think, well, that might have been an own goal. It wasn't. He just got his foot there. It's absolute class. And, well, you quite rightly said, best goalkeeper in the world. Could just watched it go in the far corner. Unbelievable goal. I think it might be his best yet.
Yeah, this is so impressive, Joe, isn't it? So Fulham, 2 against Villa, West Ham, Brentford, Spurs, Chelsea, scored in both games actually against Fulham and Villa, Southampton as well. How impressed are you with this season that Delap's putting together? Regardless of where we finish, he's having a lovely career jump here, isn't he?
Yeah, and considering he was probably the one that I thought we probably overpaid a little bit for in the summer. When you saw like 15, I thought there's probably a bit of a Man City tax on that because he's really probably in that 11, 12 range rather than 15. And what a signing he's proven to be. Almost from the first day of the season against Liverpool, he gave Jarrell Kwanzaa sort of a real tough introduction there, bullied him, and to the point that he was dragged off at half time. And he's just got better and better. And like this goal yesterday, he's shown that explosiveness to get there. And then when he's got there, it's just that ice cool, your veins turn to ice effectively. And then he just sort of flicks it in the far corner. And it's just another, like the Brentford goal, it's showing that he can do something else. Because a lot of what he has done this year has just been thundering about, bullying people, smashing the ball harder than sort of any known footballer. It's almost a bit like Roy of the Rovers sometimes.
Pretty much my favourite thing to watch, yeah.
He's sort of, like I say, flown around like Roy of the Rovers, but this was, I don't know any other characters from that without someone like that, someone else who could score a goal.
Hot shot Hamish back in the day. He was part of Roy of the Rovers. It's, I mean, what, next England squad picked next month, March, Joe?
Yeah, it's a few weeks, isn't it? Yeah, and I think Ollie Watkins and Harry Kane will be in there, and Dominic Solanke's been injured for a while, so yeah, but he's going to be there.
He's got to be there.
He's got to be, hasn't he? And if he's not there, I know that the big thing, there's a Euro Under-21s Championship this summer that they want him to go and lead the line in. So it's like, do you want to take him out of there to not bring him back down to it? But yeah, it's just a class finish from a brilliant player.
Yeah, at least match of the day had something else to focus on rather than bigging him up and exposing him again to the world. Yeah, kept it a little bit secret. Not really secret, is it? But
God, that boy hasn't been a secret since he was about 11 years.
Yeah, the lids.
But it does feel like the first time when somebody else has had a feature, because he has just been the story for Ipswich this year, hasn't he? Yeah. And rightly so, because he's come
it's all I ever get asked about.
He's English, he's young, he's going to be a long time England international. He's going to be at a big club next season, and it's nice to have had somebody else make a big impact today. More of that to come.
There we go. Where are we going next? We'll go to Joe. Asensio on for Marlon. Phillips yellow card, and the Watkins goal. And when you look back at these games, Joe, you want to work teams hard. And one consolation I've got is you couldn't really do a hell of a lot about this goal, could you?
No. And Phillips makes a foul, but I thought he was excellent yesterday. Covered so much ground, and you're going to give fouls away, and he did. He was sort of snapping around everyone. And I know we've had a lot of talk about Morsey Phillips, Kajust, who's going to play, and I think we're all of the opinion that if we want to survive, maybe Phillips and Kajust, those two playing to the best of their abilities is probably our best hope. But also, I don't think Phillips has done enough to oust Morsey from the team either. So I think had Morsey been fit yesterday, he'd have started. And I wouldn't want to sort of wish any ill on the captain because he's been superb for us. But I don't think it'd be the worst thing is if he has to miss another week's training this week so that Phillips and Kajust have got another run in it for the Spurs team to see whether they can play as well as they did yesterday next week. And if they can, then maybe they're the ones that push on. And Morsey's the guy that comes on to help close the game down for the last 20 minutes, flies around and puts all his energy into that. But we'll see. But like I say, I wouldn't write off Sam Morsey because I think he's been excellent for us in that regard. But hopefully this is a Phillips we need. We need this Phillips, and we probably have needed him for the last 10 games as well as the next 14 games to come. But for the goal, great.
Yeah, please, yeah.
A great free kick from Rashford, who I thought looked so sharp when he came on compared to sort of how he's looked the shell of himself at Man United recently. And having watched Man United today and seeing Rashford in that form yesterday, you just think, how on earth have they not been able to get anything out of him? But hits a great free kick, and I don't know, is it luck, is it positioning? But Ollie Watkins doesn't even break stride there. Like on the commentary I watched back this morning, we said, it's a brilliant finish from him. And I think he honestly could have just carried on running and it would just hit him and went in. It was just, it couldn't have fallen any more perfectly for him. It just literally dropped into his stride. But that's what he's there for. That's what pays the big bucks and why Arsenal were trying to buy him for 70 million in the January window because he's a good finisher and gets there. But no, that was a...
If you watch it back, he's on the move when the free. He's clever. He's on the move when the free kick's taken. So when Rashford's running up for the free kick, he's already on the move, isn't he? So he's got that momentum over O'Shea. As someone just said in the chat, I can't believe Palmer didn't get up and save that one. What's he playing at? Rubbish. Crap.
Well, I think we're about. Oh, good. Oh, Kevin and Perry there. That was something for show 899 for you. Yeah, it is now going to turn into the Alex Palmer show, isn't it? Where you know what these games are like, Dave, when the underdog goes down to 10 and strangely takes the lead. It's almost like as soon as that equaliser goes in, you're like, oh, brace yourselves, sit comfortably now.
Well, you saw the intent. You saw, typical fashion Watkins, as Joe said, so almost could fallen over and put it in, but puts it in, grabs the ball out of the net, runs back, plonks it on the centre spot. Right, let's go. And you think, this is going to get nasty for the next. Well, there's still 20 minutes to go. This is going to get nasty. And we just defended heroically. What I liked about it, how we defended. Some of their corners weren't great. I remember Rashford drifting one out, but we defended the corners brilliantly, didn't we? Always won the first header. It was just like proper in the trenches stuff, wasn't it? And to a man, I thought we were absolutely superb. But aside from that, the goalkeeper just has a worldie, doesn't he? He's unbelievable. I think one of his best saves is the one low from Asensio, the one where he gets down and pushes it wide. That's a great save.
Well, he did the same thing against Sakamoto last week as well, didn't he? Similar save down into the corner.
Yeah, he did. It's a host of saves. There's one from Maatsen, which he gets up and palms around. There's a bending shot from, is it Rashford, where he dives the other. It was just his day, wasn't it? Look, let's hope he has a few more. Let's hope he doesn't need to have a few more like that. But if we are under that pressure, let's hope he does. Because what a great story. He's first start in the Premier League. 28 is he? I think his first start. Absolutely brilliant story. And I think Joe said a couple of weeks ago when we signed him, what a coup. What, 2 million? Great stuff. Yeah, and needed at the time. We sat here after the Southampton game, a fortnight ago, thinking last day, coming up to, was it just about, or maybe the Sunday before last day of the transfer window coming up, or the very next day, wasn't it, I think? And what we're going to do? Do you think we'll sign a goalkeeper? We'll know. Will Slicker's surely then got to play at Coventry? And certainly.
Remember the conversation.
We sat here saying that. He's just pulled one out of the bag, haven't we? Absolutely brilliant.
And the shirt is his. Joe, now talk about this last 20 minutes for Palmer. We got Hurst and Luongo and Taylor all in to see it out.
Taylor was like with seconds left. He came on, so he didn't really do much seeing out at that stage. But it was just a brilliant performance from Palmer. Like I say, the save from Asensio, where he sort of uses the defenders to bend it round them. He sees that late and gets down and does that. But obviously the best is saved till last, the 93rd minute. Rashford beats Johnson on the line. He goes in, he then beats O'Shea, gets right down, smashes it across, and it comes off Connor Townsend and flicks
it's no goal, isn't it? Yeah.
And Palmer just jumps up and just somehow manages he's
diving the wrong way, Joe.
To rotate and get his left hand just to claw the ball away from the goal. And it's just just one of those ones you couldn't do it again if you gave him 100 goes at it to try and work out what he's done there and do it. And I think that there's some comments here about sort of, he looks like a goalie, doesn't he? He's got that good size and not lovely physique for a goalkeeper, and he's loud. He's talking to the defence the whole time. He did all the simple things well. He kicked long when he needed to. He managed to pull out a nice little step over when a defender came up to him, and a little back heel round him, which sort of had everyone's hearts in their mouths. But he just did what if you're a promoted team, you need your goalkeeper to help you out. I'm not saying they need to be putting a performance like this every week, but when you look at Muric, he's made a lot of mistakes this year, as we're all too aware. But even Christian Walton, like when you look at the sort of Brighton game, the opener goes right through him. The Man City second goal, third goal goes right underneath him. Liverpool's first goal, it's low, it's in the corner, but you need your keeper to be making all these saves, and then you hope that they can put out a couple more. But he's got to just be above average at shot stopping. That's what you need him to be. And I think Alex Palmer, in his limited time with us, has shown that. And it's a great story, as Dave said. It's guy who's played in the National League North, the National League, League Two, League One, Championship, and now making a Premier League debut. He's worked his way up there like so many of our squad have done. And yeah, just what a way for him to make his debut. A West Brom local boy who's done it at Aston Villa as well. A lot of West Brom out there yesterday, wasn't there? Connor Townsend, Darrow O'Shea in that back four as well. But it's just, I guess it's what he's been dreaming of his whole career, making that Premier League debut. And when you hear him talk afterwards, just saying, he's so grateful to Ipswich for giving him this opportunity, you just think he really feels like a great character. I know it's little things, but one of my friend's boys does like football at Ipswich Town Foundation on a Monday night, and he was there on Monday, and he said he was like the first person to come over, spoke to everyone, really good character, like really polite, really nice, really took a lot of interest in what was going on there. But I know that stuff isn't always important, but that does make a difference, doesn't it?
100%. Let's summarise this then, because we were talking a little bit off air, and I'm a bit conflicted, Dave. And Joe said, "Look, we have learned stuff." So the issue I've got with being really, really happy with this, and I am really, really happy with it in the context, is that I still want to see a game that isn't completely interrupted by a grenade going into it like a red card or 2 early goals, to tell me that we're going to win some games before the end of the season. And as much as we've played the circumstances amazingly here and reacted with the 10 men, you're still looking at, it's quite similar to the Brighton game, isn't it? Where you come away with a point and you're really, really made up, and the keeper's your man of the match and all of those things. And it's all great, but this isn't the road to staying up. The road to staying up is winning some games, isn't it? But we couldn't have done any more in this game after the red card, really.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
right,
I'm confused.
No, you're quite right. But what there hasn't been many of those. You probably mentioned the only other one, backs to the wall point. There just hasn't been many of those. Hasn't been enough of those this season. You know, us playing away, you are gonna have games like that where you are on the back foot, and you do need your defence and keeper to stand up. And that just, other than, you're probably right, other than a Brighton game, that just hasn't happened. Hasn't happened at home. Really,
would have been nice, Dave, if it had happened in some of the home head-to-heads.
Would have been very nice. Yeah, probably you could say perhaps at home, Walton had a very good game against Chelsea, didn't he? I mean, very, very good against Chelsea, perhaps. But yeah, that really hasn't happened enough. But I get your point. Someone said in the chat there, interesting comment. If that game finishes 11-11. Do we actually get the point? It's an odd, isn't it? It's quite odd.
Exactly. I totally agree with that comment, that it's quite confusing as to how you judge it in terms of what it means going forward, yeah?
I mean, what it means going forward, I think the squad, let's say, because of many changes last week, I think certainly took some confidence out of the win at Coventry the week before, the squad-wise, the group, as obviously McKenna refers to them, and very much took that mentality, I'd say, into yesterday. And when they were faced with that adversity of the sending off, they rolled their sleeves up and got on with it. It's just, it was a really heartwarming performance, and certainly something you just hope they can take that into the upcoming Spurs and Man U games.
Joe, you're going to tell us what we learned in just a second. Let me just elaborate on my point a little bit. It just feels like there's been a lot of times we've come on the podcast, like you play against Fulham at home, you get that point, you're really happy. You play against Brighton, you get a point, the keeper plays well, you're happy. You equalise late against Southampton, you get a point. Villa, the 2-2. Man United even. I'm just looking at a lot of games where we came on here, Joe, and said we were happy, that have ended in draws that won't keep you in the division. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm wrestling with it a little bit.
I think away from home, I think is a little bit different to at home, because when you look at home, you had that sort of flurry of draws at the start of the season with like Fulham, Aston Villa, I can't remember the other ones, Leicester, all games where on another day you probably win those games. You win those games more often than you lose them with the way the game's played out. You're sort of pushing at the end. You're the one that's missing a late chance to win the game. You come away thinking, well, we've played well, and it's just one of those things. But we're now at the stage of the season where playing well probably isn't enough on its own. Right. Getting a above average result isn't enough. But I think I think that's a home thing, not an away thing. I think anything you can pick up away from home is good, and I think that's what it was yesterday. And I guess, so last time we all sat here together was after the Southampton game. And you're talking about the goalkeeper situation. And I know one swallow doesn't make a summer and all that, but ultimately it does feel like the goalkeeper situation has sorted itself out, or has been sorted out. We've gone out into the market. We've signed a goalkeeper. He looks right at home here. He's played incredibly well on his league debut. He's done well in his cup debut. He just seems to fit into the squad like a glove, sort of without the goalkeeper pun in that side. But it seems like that situation's sorted out. And then the other situation we've spoken about, especially after the Southampton game, but in recent weeks, is central midfield. It's a central midfield, right? Calvin Phillips isn't doing enough. Where do we go from here? Because when he's getting chances, he's not playing. In our most important games of the season, he's not even coming on in these games. Is he going to do what we need him to do for the rest of the season? Looking unlikely. Well, yesterday he put in a performance which is one that we need to see a lot more of. So hopefully that's a step forward. And like I say, they're probably our two biggest questions effectively in the squad of what we've, as a free, have spoken about over the last few weeks. They're two areas, and I'm not saying after one game they're sorted, but they certainly feel in a better position than they have done for a long time.
Right, last word on Villa 1, Ipswich 1 goes to you, David.
Yeah, someone posted a really good comment there about those early season draws. They'd have been fine if you'd have won those winnable games at home.
Exactly.
For instance, a fortnight ago against Southampton, they'd have been fine. So it kind of magnifies it. No, look, as I said, really hard fought, well earned point, which would be doubly significant if we can beat Spurs next Saturday. And look, psychologically, it's good. We're moved up a place. All right, we're not 17th. We're 18th now. You moved up a place. Psychologically, that can't be a bad thing.
You're totally right. I think you've convinced me and articulated, you and the commenter, you two guys in the commenter, that hard-fought draws in adversity are great, provided they're the springboard for a win somewhere down the line. Because, draws where we aren't going to do the job yet.
But we're in a three-team mini league at the moment. It's us, Leicester, and Wolves in the mini league. And this weekend we played Leicester, Arsenal. Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Liverpool. And I think everyone expected all three of us teams to get 0 points. We've got one, they've got 0. So that's a good weekend for us in that regard.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Let's end on that. That's a good last word. Let's go to a word from our sponsors at Atwells.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
ITFC women return to the top of the Southern Premier Division after coming from behind to beat third place Exeter 2-1. Sophie Pesquet equalised before Ella Rutherford unleashed a long ranger to win the points with only a few minutes left. Town level on points with hashtag, but with plus 30 goals on them. You'll take that. And 2 games in hand. Well done, the women today. In terms of our shows this week, we've got a Blue Monday rewind for Spurs with David Diamond and Craig Fimbo. We've got our episode 900 special, which will go out to the Telegram followers. So go and get involved over in Telegram to hear a little bit actually about the pod and about us rather than the football. We're banned from doing that on the main show, but we're gonna talk about it after we finish doing this. Richard and Seb will be back on Thursday with the pre-match. Mikey and I will be here either on Wednesday or Friday when I know what I'm doing this week with the predictions. And Joe Fairs, David Diamond and myself will be back on Sunday to see if Ipswich Town can follow up a very, very good draw with an even better win against Tottenham Hotspur, as Ozzy Ardiles would say. Thank you to the lovely people at Atwells and, of course, at One Stop Badges. And furthermore, at Innovation Labs, who sponsor our Premier League Roundup. Right, what went on this weekend then? I've really overrun on those first couple of segments, so you're going to have to be brief here, you two. Brighton 3, Chelsea 0, don't care. Leicester 0, Arsenal 2. Well, that's part of Joe's mini league. Fulham 2, Forest 1, Man City 4, Newcastle 0. Southampton 1, Bournemouth 3, West Ham 0, Brentford 1. I don't know if anyone wants to pick up on such things. Palace 1, Everton 2. Oh, miles away, aren't they? Liverpool 2, Wolves 1 is probably the real quiz. And our next two opponents there, Spurs 1, Man United 0. What do you want to talk about, Joe?
Well, I've mentioned the other teams. Spurs 1, Man United 0. Bloody hell, that was a bad game today. Those two sides.
Please tell me both of them are rubbish.
They are terrible. They're both terrible. Like I know I could be sitting here in 10 days' time and they've both beaten us, but we have got a chance against both of those teams because they are not good. They are not good football teams, either of them at the moment.
Dave, you want to pick up on any of those results?
Yeah, I agree with Joe. I watched that and it was quality, just no quality is bloody awful. Yeah, I mean, I saw you sort of raise your eyes at West Ham 0, Brentford 1, but West Ham have got 27 points. Have they got? It's sort of it is. Joe's right. It's Wolves and Leicester.
Are you saying I'm clutching at straws, David?
Yeah, I think maybe you are. You'd think West Ham. All right, they're a great.
Wouldn't be the first time, mate.
Well, no, but you'd think they're probably, but we'll have enough. I think it is just us, Leicester. Yeah.
And Wolves. All joking aside, they look good.
Yeah, they were good, weren't they?
Wolves did. I mean, Wolves have got. I've got to say. So they've got. I made a note of this. They've got 5 fixtures before they play us on the 5th of April, and it's okay. Bournemouth away. All right,
that's a defeat.
But Fulham at home.
Defeat. Yeah, another defeat. Yep.
Everton at home.
Oh, crashing defeat that one.
Southampton away.
Maybe
that's a 3-pointer.
West Ham at home.
Oh,
yeah. It's tough. They're sort of front loaded with their easier fixtures, where ours are at the end. Ours are sort of.
You've got to stay in touch, Joe.
Yeah, but from this stage of the season, from sort of Valentine's Day onwards, in the last 2 seasons, that is when we've turned the afterburners on it, and we've really sort of pulled back in and kept onto the coattails or kept ahead of really well performing teams. So hopefully we can do that again with Wolves this year.
Get your questions in for Joe and David. Stick a Q before question mark afterwards. We will answer. Well, I'll ask and they'll answer as many as possible. Quick self-indulgent plug. I very rarely have any kind of hometown gig. I will be performing my day job as a musician at the Colchester Mercury Theatre on Thursday night in the brilliant 90s tribute. That's so 90s. If you want to get involved with the Telegram people, I've got a discount code for you. If you do want to come along to that, give us a shout on that. And I will not plug that work anymore. I will plug the Telegram, though, because show 900 is exclusively going down Telegram, which we are just about to do. Right. If you go to some questions here. Let's go to Dave from Mike. Would you stick to the same formation with wingbacks v Spurs or add another attacker? Wasn't it that beat Spurs in the first game, the away game, that type of shape?
Yeah, I think we'd stay. I think we'd probably stick with the same formation. I can't see it. You'd think that. Well, yeah, you obviously didn't trust him yesterday. Perhaps potentially Ben Godfrey come in for Twanzebe.
Davis.
Well, yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, Davis as well, obviously for Townsend if he's fit. Well, that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, you'd think if Davis is fit, he'll come in for Townsend. So I guess that does give you a more attacking formation as such straight away. Really, as Joe said, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens if Morsey's fit, to see what he goes with. But yeah, I'd expect the same formation.
Joe, how many home wins do we need? It's from LJ do we need between now and the end of the season? I'm saying 4, including beating Wolves to have a shot.
I think we probably need 5 wins between now and the end of the season. Sort of, maybe you might get away with 4 and a number of draws. So you've really got to pick up at least 3 of those at home, don't you? I think you need to win 3 at home. Like Lee says there, you've got to beat Wolves too. That is just a game we're going to have to win, isn't it? But yeah, yep. Wolves, I think we've still
That's not happened every time we've said that this season.
West Ham to come at home, haven't we, as well? Brentford don't travel well. We've got them at home. So there's opportunities there, but we've just got to take all the opportunities we get.
Dave, what is the likely points total? It all just depends on Wolves now, doesn't it? You know, if they crap the proverbial bed, it will be low. If they have a good run, it will be high, right? Or higher.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I'm joking apart, looking at that run of fixtures, just looking at that they have got coming up, and how just judging how they played today, I think you're right. I think Liverpool perhaps almost shit the bed a little bit today, but even so, I thought they looked really good. And Cooney is the boy, and he's such an important player for them. If they keep him fit, then he is the difference for them. You think they are going to pick up some points. I mean, who knows? You think it's going to be low 30s, you'd think, but look, who knows? Don't know.
Basically, the longer Wolves stay away and the further they stay away from 30, the better, basically, and the more chance we've got of overtaking them. Ed, Joe, do you think Townsend gives us anything that Leaf doesn't? Big long throw in.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's any doubt that sort of one-on-one defensively, he's a better defender. But I think Leaf gives you so much more going both ways. Yeah, his defending isn't as good as Townsend's, but I don't think his defending is bad by any means. I think a lot of that becomes a bit of narrative there, and he's excellent going forwards, and it's just that energy that he gives you. But I think maybe sort of Connor Townsend has shown that he can cope here, and in those games where Leaf is flagging with sort of 15 minutes to go because he's been up and down that touchline all game, we have got a solid option that we can bring on to help close games out. So maybe he's shown that Leif Davis doesn't need to play 90 minutes every single week, that we've got someone on that side there. But no, I think he did well. I thought, to be fair, against Coventry, I thought he was pretty poor in that game. I thought he played really well against Wimbledon, Bristol Rovers. Did okay when he came on against Liverpool. I thought he was pretty rubbish against Coventry last week. He
wasn't great, was he? Bless him.
No, and so I think he obviously was very, very good yesterday. So it's all difficult, but I think there might just be a little bit of revision when it's like, oh, he should be playing instead of Leaf. I don't think there's any way that happens.
No, absolutely not. Richard Dave says, discuss our three behind Delap. Well, you were impressed with Hutchinson, but now Enciso's got injured, but we think Clark's the most confident he's been all season. So it's not all bad, is it?
No, it isn't. And Broadhead's come in and done really well, hasn't he? In his cameos and when he started, I think he's played really well. I think there was certainly doubts. I know you didn't, Ben, but there was doubts from a few of us at perhaps the start of the season where he can make that step.
Smodics as well.
Smodics as well, Joe. Yeah. Apparently he was close to making the squad yesterday. I don't know if that was true or not, but yeah. So we have got options there at least.
Streaky has donated $9.99 on the super chat. Happy 900th. Well, thank you very, very much, Streaky. Great supporter of the show as well. You can contribute. This will always be free on here, but if you do want to super chat, it does help us out a great deal. Who am I going to? Joe, what did you think of the interview with Ashton and McKenna? Now, Joe was probably really disappointed with the interview with Ashton and McKenna because Mark Ashton is the one person that gets me more pumped up than Joe Fairs with his fist pumping, playing to the gallery thing. So you've been usurped, but it's pretty good, wasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, as always, I think they're both very good speakers, both very different in the way they talk. Obviously, McKenna is very methodical and straightforward and honest with what he says, where Mark Ashton does get you pumped up. Like I sort of was checking out the odds to get in the Champions League after I'd heard him speak after that. But no, and I think it's just, it is the case. When you hear them speak, just how hard everyone is working, how much the club is progressing, not just on the pitch. And yeah, we might get relegated this year, but it isn't going to stop the forward progress of the club. That is just going to be something that will be gotten over, and they'll find a way to get us back up in the following seasons. But it just makes you think that we are there. And like I say, you just look at these last two seasons where we've got to this stage of the season we've really, really kicked on. Yeah, kicking on isn't going to mean winning 14 out of 15 like we did in League One, or 9 out of 10 like we did in the Championship. That just
3 or 4
isn't going to happen in the Premier League. But if it means you can win 5 out of 10, then that's going to be enough to likely stay up. So you've just got to find a way to do it. And it does feel like we're sort of hitting our straps at the right time.
Fingers crossed. I'm going to apologise to Phil and Jules and Jack and Blanco and Neil and Stevie, because we're done with the question segment, and I apologise. Your questions are not going to get asked this week, but thank you for submitting them, and please do come back next week. Speaking of next week, David, it is Tottenham Hotspur, which will be previewed properly by Richard and Seb, but the return of a few players this week, and Maddison in the goals. But then on the other hand, you and Joe are telling me that they're awful and we're definitely going to beat them, yeah?
Oh, look, they've got some good individuals, haven't they? Let's face it. They really have. Sort of Kulichevsky's one, Son's another.
And a Spence at fullback.
And Spence.
Man of the match again today, as he was
really
last
good.
game.
Spence. He looked
Is he playing left back?
He was playing left back today. Yeah, it looked really good.
Oh.
Because he's really good then. He was man of the match. I watched another live TV game and he was the man of the match in that one as well. He's really, really good at left back.
Yeah, player.
Sorry, carry on, Dave.
So I think it'll be with Spurs. It'll be an entertaining game. Spurs are nothing but entertaining. Let's hope they're entertaining in a negatively for Spursy way as such, and they're generous. But because they're good to watch. I was saying to Craig on the pod this morning. Obviously did a rewind show, and just talking about the game and said, they're great to watch, but you just never know what you're going to get. So let's just hope we get crap Spurs.
And Joe, you talked about things having to be online. You also have to take your chances when they come, when you're a promoted team in the Premier League. Ding, ding, everybody, let alone a double promoted team with half a League One squad as well. And this is an opportunity, isn't it? I know we would have gone into the season thinking the two games against Spurs, if you can get 1 or 3 points from the two games, you're like, happy days. We've already got 3, but really it's an opportunity, isn't it? Given the amount of games left, this one's at home and that they're coming off the back of injuries with a bit of a beleaguered manager.
Yeah, well, you know how they're going to set up because they set up the same way every game and they try and play the same way every game. And that will cause them to have their moments because they are very, very good players. When it clicks and their tails are up, they fly around and create chances and overload you and bombard you and will create chances. But they're also, at times, they're just easy to play against. They're ill-disciplined. All of a sudden, for no reason, they'll press like 6 off the front and you break through a press and all of a sudden, you're almost in on goal. They're just a very, like you saw the game today. It was just end to end, but there wasn't really any quality opening it up from each side. It was like a few blokes playing like after works football on like a Chantry Astro, where everyone's just giving up and just one long ball puts you in at one end, and then another long ball back the other way puts you in at the other end. And it was just. Like I say, sometimes you see an end-to-end game and you just walk away thinking, wow, that was just unbelievable quality on display from both teams. And they were just, neither of them could live with each other's attacking threat. It was like, no, they just kept getting in by doing nothing and then kept letting the other team in by doing nothing. And I say Man United were awful, but they, even in the second half, they got into Spurs' box, 10, 12 times, didn't they? And just didn't do anything. So you know they're going to give you chances, but it is one of those ones you've got to take your chances when you get them and not concede when they're having their chances, like any game of football, really. But it's one that I'd back McKenna to out-coach Postecoglou in.
I was going to say
there is a big quality gap in the squad. So I think everyone knows that, but we've got a chance.
The professor will be across this, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast, reflecting on Aston Villa 1, Ipswich Town 1, ahead of Spurs coming up next week. Last word from you, David Diamond.
Well, just about next week's Spurs, we've got a very good, more than half decent home record against Spurs. Just one defeat in the Premier League with the ridiculous 5 up front Ozzy Ardiles team, which was 30 odd years ago. So let's hope we can keep that run going and come out with a win next week.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Dave. Last word from you, Joe.
Bring it on.
Bring it on, indeed. And we will see you. Check us out on Telegram for bonus episode 900. Dave and Craig will be back with Rewind. Predictions with me and Mikey, Rich and Seb on preview duty, and then the 3 of us here. The 3 Stooges, hopefully talking about 3 bloody points next week on the Flagship, Ipswich versus Spurs. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you again very soon, Uptown.